The terminal smelled of coffee and plastic and 1,000 small goodbyes. I'd sat in gate B12 long enough to memorize the carpet's pattern. The dull blue tweed that hides cigarette ash and spilled emotions. And I told myself I was doing the reasonable thing. Waiting for the delayed flight she'd promised would be home by midnight. She'd called at 6, voice airy with the kind of exhaustion that comes from airports and meetings. Flight's delayed. I'll be late. Don't wait up. I took the words like insurance, folded them into my pocket, and told myself that patience was a kind of virtue. By 9, the monitor flashed cancellations and reroutes, a bureaucracy of bad luck. The airline rep apologized with a practiced smile and handed out vouchers like Band-Aids. I read the news app with the interest of a man trying to stay useful. I ate a sandwich that tasted like paper and watched the gate fill with strangers and then thin as planes took grudging off. At 11, the tannoy announced a new arrival. Flight 317 redirected. A 3-hour delay turned into a reroute. My throat tightened like a fist. I texted her. Are you on the new flight? Her reply was a blue bubble that arrived with the lightness of someone who'd planned an escape hatch. No. Still delayed. Don't wait. Sleep. I folded into the hard plastic chair, like a man who might resign himself to the night. The gate emptied until only a few of us remained. People with connections. People whose buses left at dawn. A young woman with a suitcase plastered in stickers of cities she'd never seen. At 12:18 a.m., a couple appeared near the arrivals corridor. Two figures moving with the weary coordination of people who'd tangled their day together. They were laughing at something private, their shoulders brushing like the proof of a story I didn't have permission to hear. The lights above the baggage carousel threw them into relief. She in a raincoat with a scarf I'd bought her last winter. Him in a jacket that fit like a promise. I watched their faces as if they were pages in a book I had once read. Someone near me nudged his friend and mouthed, "They look familiar," but I had already made the arithmetic in my head. Planes, gates, the timestamps that always tell the honest part of a night. My phone stayed in my pocket like a sleeping animal. The couple moved through customs with the practiced ease of accomplices. She rested her hand on his arm in the way people do when they're deciding whether to introduce an extra truth into their future. I felt the airport's noise compress around that touch, until it was the only sound I could hear. He glanced up and saw me, saw the man in the chair who had been told to wait up, and his smile slid like an apology that wasn't meant for me. The woman's eyes caught mine then, and for a second 1,000 small photographs flipped through my head. Her behind the wheel on a summer drive, her laughing in the kitchen with coffee on her lip, the way she'd said, "Don't wait up," as if those words could be the whole of a night. Her face registered something, recognition, perhaps, or the very human calculation of how to fold a lie into a life. She approached with a stride that was part guilt and part habit. "You're still here?" she asked, the sentence a soft net that tried to catch my anger before it arrived. She smoothed the scarf at her throat like a woman who still believed in appearances. Behind her, the man, taller, with an accent she used to imitate laughingly at dinner, offered his hand. "I'm Ben," he said, voice casual as a weather report. We took a later connection. The name felt like a small nail. I forced my face into the expression of someone who had heard the news and believed it might change. "Ben," I repeated. "Nice to meet you." We exchanged the hollow courtesies of strangers who have crossed someone else's line. She tried for warmth. I responded with something colder. A clarity I'd practiced in the silence of the past few nights. "How long were you delayed?" I asked. Her mouth opened, closed, found a lie and then decided to be honest enough to hurt less. "About 6 hours. We had to get rebooked. It was chaos." Her words matched a map I had already traced with my feet. "Which gate?" I asked, and she hesitated as if the question itself might be evidence. "We landed at C3 then shuffled to B," she said, fingers worrying the cuff of her coat. Ben's hand found hers and squeezed like a small declaration. "You said you'd be home," I said. Not an accusation at first, more a fact like weather. Her eyes flicked to the arrivals board where the same flight number they'd given me glared like a ledger. Origins times status. The numbers do not cower under pressure. They persist. Behind the glass, luggage emptied onto the carousel in a procession that felt like testimony. A suitcase the exact color of the one she always argued I didn't need clicked into view. Wheels clicking like metronomes. And the woman who retrieved it reached back into the group and took Ben's hand as if to show me the choreography of how her story had been sewn. I watched their interaction with the careful attention of someone cataloging evidence. A police scanner on a nearby counter chattered with routine. A child cried somewhere. An airport worker guided a business traveler to a taxi with the efficiency of someone who helps people leave other people behind. Did you have a good trip? I asked finally. A question that carried a weight I did not aim to drop. She looked at me like at a stranger at the gate of her own life. Her eyes were quicksilver, reflective, disorienting. It was fine, she said. We met some clients and then Ben and I had to discuss a partnership. The partnership tasted like a word that calls lawyers and accountants. Ben's smile was patient and practiced. We'll grab a car, he told her. But his voice had a softness that made me think of inside jokes and a particular laugh I no longer owned. I let that be the whole of it for a while, because rage wears you down into idiocy if you let it. Instead, the thing that did the most damage was domestic in its cruelty. The taxi stand outside the arrival's door. I followed them without thinking, because some stubborn part of me still believed in fairness. They walked arm in arm to a silver cab while the night air pressed the terminal's glass like a cold palm. She glanced back once, and the look she gave me was not regret. Regret has weight. This slip had only the lightness of someone who'd banked on small lies. The taxi's door closed on the finality of it. I watched them pull away until the taillights bled into a thin red line, and a bus with tired advertising sighed by. The story I'd told myself about patience collapsed into a heap of small, useless things. The coffee I hadn't drunk, the sandwich in the bin, the chair that remembered my shape. The tannoy announced arrivals with the indifferent cheer of a public servant. My phone, which had sat quiet, buzzed with a message I had not expected and did not want. Where are you? Her text. The bubble on my screen looked like a small, given thing that could be returned.